Take a deep breath in. As you breathe in a wonderful feeling of calm relaxation. And as you exhale, allow your eyelids to close. And as they close, feel a wonderful feeling of relaxation wash over your body. Breathing in a wonderful feeling of resourcefulness and exhaling any feelings of stress or tension or worry. And just by breathing in and breathing out, you start to feel more and more relaxed. And as you relax, your breathing slows down. The slower you breathe, the deeper you desire to breathe. So more of that wonderful feeling of resourcefulness goes in, and as you echo, a thought in your mind enables worry and stress to dissolve, to dissipate, to feel like it's leaving your body. As you breathe in and breathe out, you can't help but think about a past where criticism and the idea that you've made mistakes or failed was used to coerce and control. And maybe you can remember a childlike version of you constantly hearing the words that you're not good enough. You've embarrassed yourself. You should be ashamed. Why did you get that wrong? And perhaps as a child you had a limited frame of reference. Maybe you would see one parent as a disciplinarian, another parent as a protector. The good cop and the bad cop created a dynamic where mistakes are not allowed to be made. And if anyone grew up in an environment where there were high stakes attached to making mistakes, it would create a feeling of vigilance, trepidation. You would be on edge, high alert, eager to avoid making even the simplest of mistakes. And perhaps back then, consequences followed communication. A mistake would be communicated or criticized before it led to further consequences, making you sensitized to any feedback that explicitly or implicitly applies that you're not meeting standards. And I want you to step into that childlike version of you. Imagine how it would feel to be criticized, made to feel that you're not good enough, that you have to work harder, do better. And I want you to imagine in that room of that childhood home, imagine there is a room. And imagine that room is filled with clocks. Each clock ticking at a different speed. And in that room of ticking clocks, a puzzle emerges. There's a calendar on the wall showing February the 30th. And a digital display reads 2561. A riddle echoes in the air. What has keys but can't open locks has space but no room. And you can enter but not go inside. As the numbers swirl and the enigma deepens, a sense of bewilderment takes hold, leaving you lost in a labyrinth of paradoxes. And imagine in that room filled with clocks at different speeds, there is a doorway into your subconscious mind where changes can take place. Because you are not your past. Your past can condition you, but can also make you wiser. Because you are not a child anymore. I will count from 5 to 1 and you will walk through the door into the room that represents your subconscious mind. Starting to count. 5. Imagining a handle. That's it. 4. Turning the handle. 3. Pulling the door open. 2. Walking through the door. 1. Closing the door behind you and finding yourself in a room that represents your subconscious mind. Breathing in and breathing out, feeling deeper and deeper relaxed. And I wonder what would happen if there was a comfortable chair there in that room and a large screen in front of you. Imagine taking a seat in that chair, but imagine that the seat itself is levitating, just hovering, floating in the air, making it all the more comfortable. And as you sit in that floating chair, imagine seeing a screen showing what is possible for you and your future when changes take place. And maybe you can visualize yourself as a confident and composed individual, unshaken by criticism or feedback. See a future version of you that acknowledges that mistakes are simply natural and valuable opportunities for growth and learning. That you can release the notion that past experiences with criticism are evidence of your worthiness. As you let go of that weight, the expectation, you recognize that implying someone isn't good enough often carries an agenda, and their agenda does not define your true capabilities. You can see yourself embracing curiosity and a desire to understand messages involving mistakes and misunderstandings. You need evidence of a mistake. Vague, passive-aggressive statements, murmurings, tonality that just imply you're not quite there, will generate genuine confusion and curiosity to explore what do they mean. And you can imagine a shield of self-assuredness protecting you from the negative impact of criticism. It just can't sting you anymore. As you affirm your competence and worthiness, you realize that you have the ability to improve and learn if there are genuine opportunities to do so. And therefore your job is to filter out genuine opportunities to learn from just passive-aggressive communication with an agenda. And in doing so, you can release any fear of making mistakes. You know that you have high standards. You know you learn well. You know you have good intentions. Therefore, any mistakes are simply opportunities to learn and stepping stones on your path to success. Look at that screen from that floating chair and see yourself confidently addressing and resolving any issues or misunderstandings that arise. that future version of you is not rattled, not ruffled, not stressed or anxious anymore. Because that version of you understands that the power to define your worth comes from within, not external feedback. Imagine stepping into that future version of you where all this is true, and feel a sense of empowerment in your ability to turn criticism into an opportunity for self-improvement. As you accept that genuine mistakes are part of the human experience, not a reflection of your overall competence. In this world, you have a mindset where you view challenges and setbacks as stepping stones towards your goals. That you can approach criticism with curiosity, eager to uncover any valuable insights it may hold. Embrace the belief that you are constantly evolving and improving. Each mistake simply being an opportunity to propel you forward. At no point do you choose to make mistakes. You choose to do the very best that you can. It's just that if mistakes happen, you view them as feedback, opportunities to refine your understanding and learning. And you can release any lingering self-doubt and replace it with unwavering self-confidence. When you think of everything you've gone through, isn't it true that you must be a resilient individual, capable of bouncing back from any setback? Your worthiness is not based on your achievements, your accomplishments. Your worthiness is linked to intrinsic qualities. And these qualities do not waver based on the opinions of other people. That your worthiness is not determined by the absence of mistakes, but by your ability to learn and grow and move forward. So breathe in and breathe out, feeling a sense of calm and composure as you navigate criticism. It doesn't matter if that criticism is on email, on a Zoom call, video or voice, even face-to-face. Anything that implies you're falling below a standard generates a feeling of confusion at first, but then curiosity to figure out what's happened. If you think about the rule of law, people don't get sentenced for a crime until there is an investigation, information is gathered, evidence is evaluated, and everything is weighed up until something can be established. So you feeling stressed and anxious and considering horrible consequences is simply the wrong stage of the process. You need to gather information, collate all the different sides of the story, and in doing so, you have the information to decide, is this just someone with an agenda trying to get more or less? Someone trying to motivate or manipulate? Or is it a genuine learning opportunity? And once you've evaluated what it is, if you can learn, you will learn. And you will learn with enthusiasm, knowing that this strengthens who you are and gives you a feeling of growing competency. And if you evaluate that the feedback, the criticism isn't fair or true or has an agenda, then you will deem it as such, and it will wash off you like water off a duck's back. Imagine this screen in front of you disappearing, but still feeling that you're there, floating on a chair, but you feel different now. You feel more resilient, better able to get curious whenever you receive feedback, free to ask questions. I noticed you had a certain tonality. What did you mean by that? When you said it wasn't quite right, how could it have been done differently? All of these are genuine, curious questions to help you better evaluate what's going on. And as you integrate those thoughts into your mind, you feel a wonderful feeling of enthusiasm that what was something to avoid in the past is now an opportunity to get better. And you feel excited with that future. Imagine leaving that room and finding yourself in that original room. Perhaps an original room with ticking clocks at different speeds, a puzzle that can't be solved, a calendar on the wall with a date that doesn't exist, a digital display with a time that isn't possible, a riddle that doesn't need a resolution. And I want you to accept the idea that not everything that you hear means what you think it means. And as you acknowledge that, it's not possible for your unconscious mind to evaluate that you failed or made a mistake until you figured out what's really going on. And it's that new belief that information is required to evaluate takes root in your mind. It's now time to feel like you're returning to the present, and you return to the present, feeling calm, composed, optimistic about the future, feeling like the past is the past and it's made you more resilient and mentally tough, and that you have an insatiable desire to move forward in your life. And this gives you a platform to do that better than ever. Take a deep breath in through your nose and out through your nose. Wiggle your fingers, wiggle your toes, feel like you're returning to the present. And as you do so, let go of any fear, vigilance, nervousness of the past, and instead embrace an insatiable curiosity of how you can get better, not because you're not good enough, but simply because you want to grow, evolve, and improve. Starting to count to awaken you. 1, 2, 3, waking up. 4, 5, 6, more alert. 7, 8, open your eyes, open your eyes. 9, 10, wide awake, wide awake, wide awake.